Dhyanamoolam Gurumurti Pujamoolam Gurupadam Mantamoolam Guruvakyam Mokshamoolam Gurukripa. Om Shri Gurue Namaha. Hari Om. Meet the need, and I would like to repeat a sloka from Bhagavad Gita, but today its depth is coming to me slightly differently. So with a few examples, let me try to explain what I feel. And eventually it looks like it could be a good introduction to hereafter, maybe starting December, I would be taking some of the slokas from Bhagavad Gita, starting from chapter 1. So it could be, and this will prepare us for it as to what does it mean. The word is Sharanagati, taking shelter of, dissolving ego, going beyond our identity. And also the another sentence which we have heard many times, and that is, my inner peace is non-negotiable. I happen to have at this stage 2 or 3 fresh examples that will qualify both the statement, your inner peace is non-negotiable, and the sloka from 18th chapter. So let's go briefly over the sloka and what it means. This is how it reads, and we had done it in past. That is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, sloka 66. And this is how it reads: Sarva Dharma Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshami Mashuchaha. Here, the word sarva, all, dharma, you can call it right now. Let's take the word dharma. I explain in a minute. Parityajya, abandon, leave, don't think of it. Mam ekam, mine alone. Sharan, the shelter. Vraja, take or adapt or accept. Aham, I. Tvam, yours. Sarva, all. Papebhyo, off the scene. Moksha, liberation. Mokshyami, I will liberate you from all your papa, all your sins. Ma means not, sucha means think. Now, so what it says in Bhagavad Gita, the Krishna, and mind you, Krishna, do not please take it as Krishna, but Krishna is the divine element present in all of us. Okay? Do not take personified form. And that's the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. So here he says, Sarva dharma parityajya. Dharma word comes from the, let me get out from here. The word dharma comes from dharayati iti dharma, the one that beholds you, meaning if you are angry, then the anger beholds you. If you are in the state of love, then love beholds you. If you are in the state of serenity, peace, then peace beholds you. So those are the different ways one can take it as a dharma. But here, and also, if you take the help of somebody else or something else, and something can be an instrument, can be uh, uh, you can call it medicine, drugs, uh, narcotic, uh, anything. So that is, you are taking shelter of. So what does this sloka says? That if you remove all this thing, do not look outside of you. And outside of you meaning, if you're taking medicine, say for example, to calm yourself down, then that medicine is outside of you. It's not yours. So you are now under the dharma of the medicine. If you are going to somebody's advice, and I'm not saying do or don't do, but understand, when you're taking the advice of somebody, something, but all those are outside of you. And that is not what Krishna says. Krishna says that the divine quality residing in you, and those divine qualities we have discussed enough number of times, that is unconditional love, that means love without lover, eternal peace, internal compassion. So the compassion is your such a beautiful nature. No matter what the other people will do, you will love them unconditionally. They may hate you, they may kick you, they may spit on you. And on this, when you take the total shelter, what happens? It transforms you. And it totally dissolves your personal identity, asmita, your ego. A lot of times we have heard that, oh, you just take care of the ego and everything will be fine. But at the same time, when you're claiming that I am getting rid of my ego, understand the word I am. Who is taking care of your ego? You yourself. So you are the doer. As soon as you are the doer, what is it? Ego once again slowly creeps in because you are the doer. Now you take to the good old time, and we have heard your inner peace is non-negotiable. And what is your inner peace? Inner peace is nothing but the element of divinity, and that is Krishna. So you're taking the shelter of your inner peace. No matter what happens, our inner peace will aim at not to be disturbed. So hard to understand. I have 2, 3 examples. I begin with first example, and then I will take most domestic example. And this example need to be kept fresh in our mind. It may not pertain to you, but so far as I'm concerned, it pertains 100%. The first example is the example between a guru and the disciple. The disciple happened to be my dear friend, come my dear younger sister. She was 28 when I was around 50 or maybe 60, I don't know. So what had happened, and she being a sannyasi, meaning sannyasi people may have just 2 or 3 pair of clothes and keeps no money with them. She was invited in New Jersey and she was a guest at a place. It so happened that she stayed there and the host was kind of brainwashed by one of his friends and saying that you don't know who you are hosting. This is such a horrible person. You never should keep some such people in the house. So he got brainwashed and he asked that lady sannyasini, at that time she was only 28 years old. She was asked her, says, I'm sorry, but my house cannot accommodate you. Kindly leave. Now understand, she doesn't have a dime in her pocket. And where would she go? And this is at night. But she had this notion, Sarva Dharma Parityajya. Do not hope in anything. Just surrender to me. And me, in this case, happened to be her guru. And her guru also resided in her heart. So she just says, okay. She said, okay, but what to do? She's an Indian girl coming first time to USA, not knowing what are the buses, where to go, and at night, 8 o'clock, and not having a dime in her pocket. But she did not take shelter of anything else. She just sat, meditated upon, and once she reached to the state of silence, she could communicate in silence with her guru and say that I'm at your shelter. You guide me what to do. Mam ekam saranam graja. Only take my shelter. And here understand, Krishna is also in the form of your guru, and that is also in the form of your inner peace. This is part A of the story. Now, part B of the story, one of the gentlemen who heard her that evening, he had brought his younger daughter, 7 years old. And the daughters at night, 10. She says, Dad. So Daddy says, well, what do you want, sweetheart? And he says, I love that mommy. Can we not have it at our place? This is how her tone. And so her father says, sweetheart, it is night now, and Swami may be tired and he may be sleeping. But no, Dad, why don't you ask him? So, there's a special bond between father and daughter. So father says, okay, let me talk to him. And he called the host, and host says, hi, how are you? And he says, is it possible I can talk to Swamiji? That little girl, 28 years old. So he said, yeah, okay, he's still awake. Let me give it to her. And he says, narrate the story and says, my daughter would like you to spend your stay here in New Jersey with us. Is it possible? And so she did not complain a word against the current host. And she said, sure, it is doable. How far are you? And he says, if your daughter wants it, and I would also love to spend time with her. Yes, I can come with you. And she at that time, even though the current host didn't like her, out of very elderly courtesy, she asked the host, is it possible that I can take your leave now? Such and such gentleman would like to pick me up. And the gentleman says yes. Long story short, she did get relocated. Now, had we been in her place, we would have been wondering, we would have been crying, we would to borrow the money from the host, and host wouldn't have given, or whatever that beside the story. And she could have been walking on the street, hoping that somebody can help. But then somebody outside of her, sarva dharma parityajya, give up all the hopes in everybody else. Just trust in your inner peace. And this is not going to happen overnight, mind you. She had developed that relationship with her own inner self for so long. And thereafter, there is nothing more to say. There was a beautiful series of lectures, and I happened to be one-to-one, and this is the true story, by the way. She loved me like an elder brother, and she shared me after the event was over. So, sarva dharma parityajya, abandon all the hopes, remove all the ego, just go to the depth of your heart, develop your inner peace, and let your inner peace be not disturbed. So it is non-negotiable. That was story number one. What is substantiation number one? The second one is a domestic family. That time when I was in Toronto, a dear friend of mine, she is also my, you can call, younger sister, and she had developed that contact with her inner self, and she had about, I think, 15, 20 years ago, when I was periodically visiting Toronto. She's a Westerner girl, I think maybe Susie or some name I forgot, but never mind. So she had some not good relations with her husband. And her husband's sister, as a result, also didn't have good relation. But her husband's sister's son, I don't know, I don't want to get into all this detailed relation, but he liked her and he invited her for some occasion. You can imagine, so it is nothing but her ex-husband's nephew. Nephew wanted it, and the entire family didn't want her. But she said that why do I have to carry any grudge in my mind? Sarva dharma parityajya. Let that anger or hurting of the ego is also a dharma. That why do you take shelter of? Why do you let that ego dictate upon you? saying that heck with it. If nobody wants you, why do you want to go? But no, she said, some point in time, I had to break that barrier. So she accepted the invitation and she went there. Her inner peace was not disturbed. She was so cool and quiet. And understand, when the peace comes, love follows, compassion follows. They are nothing but all the three elements riding together. So you cannot have peace and not have love. You cannot have love and cannot have peace. And if you have either one of them, and karuna, the compassion is not there, this cannot happen. So the compassion, love, and peace, these are the three names of the same element. And that same element is Krishna. Krishna is a symbol of the ocean of all the three great qualities. So quite often during Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion, we have heard many a times that Bhakti is love. So where does it come from? Have you ever seen like Kabir or Narsimeta or Meera ever getting mad, upset? So understand this point. Your inner peace is non-negotiable. Slowly and slowly and slowly develop. And if anybody gets upset, mad, or makes you angry, internally just close your eyes and wish them, may God bless you. And whenever they get mad at you or upset or support your ego, I'm saying that element support your ego, then really speaking, what happens is, this is the best time, best laboratory to practice, to understand that you have really genuinely digested your inner peace is non-negotiable. I can give lectures for days on it, but when something happens and I become internally disturbed, and I said, I will see that what happens. So dear friend, the second example, and this is social, practical example, that I was involved to the degree when I happened to be there. I was staying in a temple, and she came after she accepted that invitation. She attended that invitation, and she says that, she calls me brother also. She says, brother, this happened. Did I do the things right? And at that time, once again, I and her, we had 1 hour of talk only on this sloka, Sarva Dharma Parityajya. Abandon all the shelters of this nonsense, ego, desire, strong, anger, anxiety, depression, all those elements. And once having abandoned, who will have peace of mind? Understand this. And this inner peace is the one that makes you the winner. Whether they give you physical shelter or not is a different story. But in both these cases, and the third case is even horrible than the first two, and you may have to pardon me for running few minutes over. The third case was, this is also a true picture, true story. So these are not the fables, Aesop's fable, and they may be great story, I'm not saying, but these are the actual instances that I have heard or I have come across. And this case was One gentleman, a husband and father of two children, was brutally murdered by four individuals. And those four individuals were sentenced to jail. Understand how horrible it can be. You think your ego is more, but understand what happens here. And those four people were sent to jail. All those four murderers, I call them murderers, four murderers, they also had their own children. Now, their children, they lost their father momentarily or some period of time until they will be released from the jail. So they didn't have their father. And those children were thinking of the one who was murder's son, and they wanted to say that will see to you that your father and your mother sent my father into jail. I will see to it. So that means the animosity, ego, anger was passed on to from generation to generation. There is an institute. They realize the danger of this, and they are applying your inner peace is non-negotiable. Perhaps they are applying, they didn't even hear this, but so far as I'm concerned, they heard it. So that institute tried to convince the widow whose husband was murdered. She was conveyed that you go and treat all those four murderers, accept them with your heart as your brother. And brother in Indian customary on Raksha Bandhan, that is the sacred thread of love. So can you imagine how could a lady, would accept the murderers as the brother? What could have been her mental identity? I don't call it ego, but still it is kind of an ego. She was convinced and she accepted that. So that institute administrator herself, they requested from the jailer special permission under strict supervision to see them on the day of Rakhi, on the day of Raksha Bandhan. And those murderers, having been in the jail, they didn't have any money. But this institute gave 100 rupees bill to each of those to give to this lady as a token of love or token of acceptance, a little gift. So she comes, she tied the Rakhi, and every one of those poor murderers had tears of confession. They felt that, my God, what did we do? How could we take life of somebody? And he was brutally murdered. This all happens in anger, mind you. This all happens in the egocentric behavior. And as that thing happened, those four people offered that $100 gift to this lady who, being widow, not being talented at all, she was working as a housemaid to different houses, and she was surviving barely one way or other, selling one after another equipment from her house, like sofa and bed and pots and pans, because there is no way to survive and support a son. She was in such a heavy need for financial support. So those poor people offering 100 rupees, even we could accept, but she refused. See the greatness, see how the peace works at her place. And she said that you are my brother. I love you all. And if you want to give me anything, give me a vow that hereafter respect your inner love, respect your inner peace, your true Dharma, your true Krishna residing in you, and see that no lady in future ever becomes a widow like I did. Meaning, don't kill anybody. Approach with love. Oh my God. What a heart. And what does the peace do? What does peace bring about the transformation? On the surface, it may look like it can't do anything. And still you see the beauty of it. How rich she was. And this richness is different than having billions of dollars. She did not have even money to have the underclothes. She had barely covered herself with a torn sari. That institute that brought her there, institute requested and said that, sweetheart, please accept that 400 rupees that your brothers are giving you. After too much of insistence, she accepted. And before she accepted, she said, I'm accepting only on the condition that you will not ask me to do anything else. That institute says, okay, we agree. She accepted that 400 rupees. And at the corner of the sari, she had one coin of a quarter that she had barely saved to have either a cup of tea or whatever, or to have some food. She untied that knot, that 400 rupees and a quarter on it. Guess what she did? She donated that to the institute for doing such a royal, such an Aryan, ideal, divine work. So not only she did not accept the 400, but she accepted, and still she did not accept. And on top of it, she increased that donation with whatever little she had, that quarter, the last of her asset, I will call. And she donated that. And I will not go further into the story. But the point here, I do not want to go tangential on it. But I want to explain to you, dear friend, that this Bhagavad Gita That sloka is not an ordinary sloka. Just don't think it Krishna to be outside of us. Krishna is dwelling in all of us, in our heart, as peace, as love, as compassion. And these are the qualities that beholds you. And beholding in Sanskrit, it is translated as dharayati. So one that beholds you, the one that does dharayati, it is dharma. And don't get carried away saying that you are Christian, you are Muslim, and you are Hindu, and you are Brahmin, and whatnot. All of us, we have that inner peace, inner silence, and that inner silence, that inner love, that pure love, whose other side is the compassion, karuna. That is our inner spirit. That is the Krishna in all of us. And can we not take its shelter? And that is the shelter that will behold you So again, understand, let whosoever want to translate Dharma as a religion, this is Dharma. Dharayati iti Dharma, one that beholds us. I have nothing more to say. Understand the depth of our scripture. Understand the wisdom of the saint. And the abundance, glory, love, and peace that universe offers us. All of us, we have it. This is in our heart. You don't have to look for. Slowly develop the peace within and do the best. After having cultivated within all of us, we ourselves being experienced, let our behavior narrate the story and not like what I narrated right now. Love needs no language. Peace needs no language. Compassion needs no language. They are undescribable. They are avarnaniyya. They are divine quality. They are the quality. These are the firmware built into our body. Divinity cannot send us without this firmware, without this inner quality. And maybe not look outside, but just look inside. And with this, let us observe a few minutes of silence, and we'll have Shanti Path. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamabhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. I thank you all for giving me the company. God bless you.